Hello, good morning, afternoon, or whatever. We are in Glacier National Park. The world is definitely ending. The sun, it looks like it's the morning time, but it's actually afternoon here. In today's video, I'm going to be going through the pros, the cons, the lessons that I've learned having lived in my car for over 60 days. I will have another video where I get into the financial aspects of it. So if that's all that you care about, then you suck. I'm a little bitch for a good theme. So we are officially on the edge of the world. These are things that I'm on the fence about, or they're kind of a pro and a con. So we're on the edge. We're on the edge. We're on the edge. Okay. The freedom, I can be anywhere that I can drive to as quickly as I can drive there. And that is true freedom. As all power, it comes with responsibility to know when I really should be leaving or going somewhere new versus where I'm just running. I'm a runner. If I don't like a situation, if I am at all uncomfortable or upset or disappointed, I will just go. So on one hand, this lifestyle is great because you can do that whenever you want. It's kind of the name of the game. On the other hand, especially if you're doing it the way that I have been, where I'm not regularly paying for the places that I'm parking, it can be very challenging to feel grounded. The feeling of always needing to move, it can be really hard to fully feel a sense of belonging and peace. Sometimes I honestly think the universe is pushing me more out of a place even before I'm ready to go. Part of my intention in doing this is giving my soul more of a sense of home. It's the soul's journey. It's your life's journey. It's feeling like, one, you belong, and then two, who you are and what you're here to do. So maybe this is just fully a con, but I guess on the plus side of it, you learn very quickly how to ground, and you engage a lot more with grounding practices because that's super necessary. Both a pro and a con. Washing your dishes, washing your face, preparing a meal, everything is a process. On one hand, can be very annoying, but it also encourages you to embrace the process, see the process that all of life truly is, and not try to do too much in one day. It definitely has made me more realistic about how I spend my days. Another aspect, living in my car, really concentrates your energy. You are with yourself the whole time, however you're feeling, whatever you're thinking, however you're being, it's very present. Anger, fear, frustration, sadness, grief, they really are present with you. The pro of that is you have to deal with your emotions. You have to become aware of them. You process them and cycle through them so much more quickly. The con of that is that you have to be with your emotions. You have to become more aware of them and you have to process them more quickly. In a home, the more space you have to get away from yourself or to be in a state of denial of what you're experiencing or to be less sensitive to your own experience. And that is not possible. That is not possible in a car. One thing I would recommend is energetic cleansing of your space. Any kind of scent that makes you feel comfortable at home, opening the windows, letting the sun in, letting things air out and have space, and also leaving your space. Let's get into the cons, the things that are just really not worth at all. Standing. I don't think you appreciate how much you actually do stand just in the morning, brushing your teeth, getting dressed, maybe doing a little bit of stretching. At least if you're doing city living, the first couple hours of the day, you might not stand at all. So my hips, my thighs, everything got super tight super quickly. So I try to walk 30 minutes every morning. I don't know that I can do this light. How about we use this light? Oh my God, this is like the most chaotic thing ever. Okay, if you have a crushing fear of locking yourself out of your house, that gets exponentially worse with this lifestyle. It hasn't happened. And I'm pretty sure my car won't lock if the keys are inside of it, but there's been a couple of really close calls. Let's see what else. I thoroughly underestimated how much money I would be spending on gas. I'm gonna do an entire analysis of how much money I actually have spent through this lifestyle, but even when I was just in a city, my gas fees went up significantly. Of course, now that I've been on a road trip and like driving potentially hundreds of miles in a day, I'm spending a lot of money on gas, but Even when I was just in a city, you're gonna drive a lot because you're kind of always in this discovery phase of trying to figure out where you're parking, what you're doing for the day. I just circle so many lots, so many different times, trying to find my spot. With all of this stuff in my car, I try to have a space that's in the shade, pretty close to the door. I'm a little bit more sensitive of what other cars I park next to, all those other considerations. That gets pretty tiring. Another con is noise. This is based on a question that had come. So, in comments, but you're regularly in new places. There's always new noises, and that's always a new stressor. Like, what does that mean? There was this one night where I think it was something on the road, and as cars would drive over the road, it would make this noise, but it always sounded like a car door shutting. That was very unnerving. Like, that was a tough night to sleep because you're just constantly hearing that. It's like, is somebody coming? I don't know. And just in general, the sound of people talking or walking by, cars starting and stopping, these are all things that you become so much more sensitive to. And there's really not that much that you can do to control it. I was always conflicted because I was like, well, I want to have lower sensory input so I can sleep better. But also, what if something is happening? I was always like, should I be wearing an eye mask? It would probably be better to see it than not. And I would say the same thing for if you chose to wear earplugs. Okay, this is one thing that makes me not necessarily appreciated on the road. I could see that over time my behavior, if I ever stayed in one place long enough, would really start to annoy people or might become a problem. I'm just way too nosy. I am always creeping. I'm always looking in everybody's van. I'm always looking at everybody's setup, at everybody's RV. I have no intention of becoming a less nosy person. I don't think that's possible. I'm just inherently very curious. In general, I think this lifestyle attracts people who are more private and insular. So yeah, something to consider if you are a nosy person. I don't want to say it's lonely because lonely is an opinion, but it is very isolating. Living on the road, you don't interact with people in the same way because you have a very different lifestyle. Where you go to bed, where you wake up, you don't necessarily want people to know that's what you're doing, so you just need to be a little bit more quiet, a little bit more under the radar. You're also just generally kind of tired and always looking for that next plan. I think there's definitely ways to do this lifestyle that make some of these things that are cons for me not necessarily cons. I also want to acknowledge I'm doing this basically the most difficult way possible, which I think fits me on a number of levels that I don't want to admit. Because I was drawn to national parks, inherently everything is like 1,000 times more difficult. Not only is it remote, but it's also popular. Everything is more expensive. Everything is more sought after. Wi-Fi, power, outlets, locations, benches, showers, you name it. If things were different, I could see this being a lot more sustainable and practicable. Using more BLM lands or less popular state parks would make it a lot more affordable. This is a segment I call Using My Degree. Here's some pros. Just in general, major cure for insecurity. I don't really feel insecure anymore. I come from being an extremely insecure, self-concerned person. So the way that this has forced me into public spaces to just own and establish that I'm doing this here and now, car going by, has been so healing for me. Now that I've had to become aware of whether or not people notice things I'm doing, like the fact that I'm staying overnight or that I'm using a bathroom, not only is it okay what you're doing, but most people just look the other way and just don't care. And it's been so freeing to have that validated. People really are not paying attention to you at all. This one's related. Actually feeling a lot safer in this world than I traditionally have. We're just told that life is very dangerous. Strangers are dangerous. New places are dangerous. There's just so much fear and concern. It's important to have a metered, reasonable amount of attention and awareness, but in the past where I would have looked at any stranger as nefarious or inherently a risk, now I sensing into what people are doing, I've been able to feel very safe. I'm constantly thrown into new locations and new spaces. I've become so attuned to what safety really feels like and trusting into that innate feeling, innate sense, rather than using the analytical mind to determine whether a place is safe or not. And that's been really beautiful to realize that most people aren't trying to steal your laptop or your wallet or whatever. They're usually so concerned with themselves and unconcerned with you, just trying to get through their day as much as you, and they just don't really care. Another thing, it forces me to be outside more often. Being outside and being in nature, so healing. There's a million studies on it. If you want to please your analytical mind, you can do the reading, but also just walk outside and you'll know it makes you feel better, more whole. If you're team woo-woo, you can listen to this. If not, you can skip. But I feel a deep connection now with nature that I didn't have. I do feel like I communicate with the nature around me. That is also its own way of feeling at home and in place. I have actually worked or edited a little bit in my car, but it's pretty uncomfortable. I can really only access working spaces, libraries, cafes, whatever, at specific times. So I have to stay focused on those activities when it's time to do them. I'm not cluttering my eating, living, sleeping space as much with that type of energy because that has to be done intentionally in its own space. Another aspect, if you don't place something with intention, it will get lost. That is just the case, especially if it's at night. It forces you to be way more intentional with the way that you act, always taking more time in whatever I'm doing to think when I will need this, where I will look for it. You're living in such a small, cramped space. Things are overlapping. There's a million pockets and little tiny holes where things can be or fall into. Like my face mask is a constant battle. It's small. Used at night when it's dark. I'm also tired. That's been such a healing practice for me because I am the type of person that's just so go, go, go. So throw everything everywhere. We'll fix it later. This has forced me to slow down so completely. Another aspect is what I've heard described as windshield time, this medium state where you can watch the world go by. I think there is something truly healing in watching environments change and seeing how quickly you can get from one type of situation to another, a metaphor of your life that you can quickly transition from a more difficult aspect to something that's a lot more blissful, natural, in tune. All right. It's a few days later. We're no longer in Glacier. No, not at all. But there were a few points that came up that I realized I also wanted to share as part of this story. Another thing that was powerful about the way that I went about this was it was so low investment. I didn't make any major modifications. I didn't build anything out. I didn't make a big investment. I've been able to maintain this state of non-attachment to everything. I don't have major expectations of like, I'm going to learn this, or this is going to be what changes about my life, or this is going to be how I come out of this, or when, or why. So I would recommend, if you're going to enter a time period of self-exploration, make it low stakes. The lower the stakes, the easier it is to give your body, your mind, the freedom to feel creative and truly curious in this space, this place that you set aside for yourself. Finding that freedom for yourself is huge. I would say biggest gain from this experience by far is this feeling that I got me. I've spent so much of my life trapped in my own body, in my own mind, in the fears, the obligations, the excuses, the reasons why not. And this experience has taught me that I can provide for myself. I can protect myself. I can keep myself safe. I can get myself fed no matter what. The significance of taking these types of journeys for yourself, whether it is living in your car or it's some other large travel, throwing yourself out of your environment, out of what you know and what you think you can handle. Having this bank of times that I have provided for myself is it's everything, really. It opens up so many opportunities for you. Whereas in the past, I would worry, well, what if this doesn't work out? What if this falls through? The underlying theme of that is like, I won't be able to rise or handle it. Having the daily struggles, realities, influx nature of this experience, I've learned I will figure it out through God, my relationship to the universe, my ability to regulate my nervous system and act from an intuitive place. Oh gosh, does this look stupid? I didn't know. Why didn't nobody tell me that was like that? I got me to the point of figuring out my microphone. Okay. Checking in with my intention, it was simplicity, seeing how little I could truly live with. What could I make work? And what I've learned is this is a little too simple. I need a little bit more than this. I could see a version of my life that is nomadic, having a true rig, having dedicated budget for campgrounds, showers, just the inherent extra cost of food, a more robust Wi-Fi and power infrastructure. Yeah, getting my day-to-day space and the time to do video editing and publishing takes up so much of my day that it's becoming quite impractical. And then I would also say that my intention has evolved. A beautiful outcome of letting all that is not me fall away has been discovering even more of my intuition and my true passion for developing that as the tool and the root of my life. My intention moving forward is to become a vessel for my intuition, to act every day fully based on how I feel. The road has been so great because it's so dependent on how you feel about doing one thing or another. I want to dig into that even more, have even less pause, less quieting of my mind that's required in order to hear the real message, and even more willingness to follow it through. All right, so what's the final verdict? Honestly, looking at the list, it kind of seems like there are more pros than cons. Like maybe I should actually do this. Ultimately, what I have learned is that I need a center of stability. I would love to still have a semi-nomadic traveling lifestyle, but for now, I will also be seeking a longer-term place to live. So I don't know where that will be, but feel free to vote in the comments, leave suggestions, something that might suit my absurdity. I've loved this time. I've loved this learning experience. I wouldn't trade having done this. It will inform however I choose to proceed with finding a home. Have you ever had a period of nomadicism? Post in the comments any suggestions that you have on making this more of an easeful experience, or tell me where I should move next. I hope you have a beautiful week, and I'll see you soon.